Greetings, Ranger Country and Honorable WAP Warriors. Lesson number 20 here is value your education. As we move forward with our online learning next week and we close out spring break and we make our way to April 15th when we begin in earnest, I want you to have a value for your education. And I'm going by the tagline or creed to learn, enrich, and break through. You know, there's a lot of different things going on. It can be convoluted in one sense, difficult logistically. You got to understand there's a lot us teachers are working through, and a lot we're trying to make our way through as far as, what platform to use, what time to go, how long to go, what to use. But I am reminiscent of a story about my great-great-grandfather, John Cadman Anderson. Cadman in Gaelic incidentally means warrior. John was born and raised in Tarbes, Scotland, on the edge of the Highlands in Aberdeenshire. And he was born in 1810. And he farmed barley in the fields in Tarbes. And at 21, he married his sweetheart, Alice Lee, who a year after they were married, she died in childbirth, and the baby died with her. In 1832. A couple years later, he walked down the path from his croft, left his 4 siblings behind, his half-brother behind, his parents, and he walked down to the shore to Aberdeen, a city on the coast of Scotland. He got on a boat and he sailed to New York City. From New York City, he was able to take the Hudson River to the Erie Canal into the Lake Erie to Detroit, where he bought land, I think 100 or a couple hundred acres in Sand Creek, Michigan, little town off the beaten path near Tecumseh, Michigan. Anyhow, John Cadman Anderson settled there. He started farming, and then he met Elmira, and he got married, and he settled down there, and 6 generations of Andersons are buried in a little cemetery plot under an oak tree that was once owned, I believe, by John Cadman Anderson. Why do I tell you this story? Well, I tell you because if he were here today and he looked at my children and he looked at myself, I hope that he would be proud that we were taking advantage of the opportunities that he never imagined 200 years ago. Or 100 years or 150 years ago. He never imagined the opportunities that we have. I know it's not perfect. I know we're not in the classroom. I know we're not in room 141. We don't have the capabilities. We don't have the togetherness. But it's still an education, and there's an opportunity to learn, because school isn't all about grades. I know. Some of you are saying, well, that's kind of the point, Mr. Anderson. The purpose of school is to learn and to enrich and to have breakthroughs. And so that's what we're going to do. And I hope that John Cadman Anderson, if he were here, he'd be proud of the way I'm handling this as a teacher. He'd be proud of my daughter. He'd be proud of my wife. I want you to think about in your own life who made sacrifices, who went through travesty and travails in order to get you where you are today, so that you can be watching a YouTube clip from your AP World History teacher and have the online learning opportunities amidst the global pandemic. Because I tell you what, 100 years ago, when this happened with the Spanish flu over 100 years ago, they didn't have these opportunities. You go back another 100 years, during the time of John Cadman Anderson, they couldn't imagine the educational opportunities we had to enrich. Not for young men, and certainly not for women, and for all the different ethnic backgrounds that have made America what it is today. So I want you to consider that. Go into your family history, perhaps, if you're able to, if that is something you're interested in, and ask about the different people that struggled and sacrificed, and the people that brought you to where you are now, which is watching this video. And hopefully on April 15th, not focusing so much on the grade, but more or less focusing on learning, enriching, and having a breakthrough, despite the circumstances that surround us. So that's my message today. Value your education, learn, enrich, breakthrough. Signing off, lesson number 20. Brad Anderson, this is Ranger Country.